Hello and welcome to this week's Floating Camel Yoga Flow. We're going to start on our bellies, resting your forehead onto the back of your hands, taking a deep breath into your belly, in your chest, all through your back, and slowly release. On your next inhale, you're going to tuck your tailbone towards your feet, point your toes, and slowly lift your right foot off the floor, making sure your hips are staying square, and then lowering to the ground, and repeating on the left side. So making sure you're tucking your tailbone again, lifting that left foot into the air, and slowly lowering down. Next, coming up into your Sphinx pose. So your elbows underneath your shoulders, your hands in front, pulling your chest through, like slightly pulling your hands back, your chest through, your tailbone tucking again, and releasing down and back into your child's pose. Taking a deep breath here. Then rolling up through cat, nice and slow, and coming into your cobra and your baby cobra pose. And again, lifting that right foot off the floor, tucking the tailbone, and release. Repeating on the left side. Left foot into the air, and release. Now slowly lifting your chest up into a cobra. You can take your hands off the mat if you want to, and releasing down and back into your child's pose. Taking a breath here. Rolling back through cat, down into cobra pose. Down onto the mat. Now clasping your hands behind your back, tucking your tailbone, lifting the right foot off the floor. And slowly lower. Left foot comes off the floor, pointing your toes, and slowly lower. Lifting your chest up, making sure your tailbone's still tucked, reaching your hands to the back of your mat, and exhale, lower down. Hands underneath your shoulders and back into your child's pose. Taking a deep breath here. Then rolling through and coming up into your down dog. Taking your time and walking your legs out here if you feel you need to, getting a nice stretch in the back of your legs. And on your next inhale, lifting your right leg into the air and stepping through into a low lunge, dropping the back knee, lifting your arms up, inhale into a mini back bend, pushing your chest through, and exhale, hands down to the ground, lift that back leg, grounding yourself in that front foot, and coming up into a high lunge. Again, reach back, mini back bend. Exhale, hands down to the ground, taking that front foot back into a three-legged plank and coming down all the way onto your belly. Taking your hands up by your side, inhale, lifting up into a locust pose, and exhale back into your child's pose. Taking a breath here, then coming up into your downward dog. On your next inhale, lifting your left leg into the air. Stepping through, coming into your low lunge. Inhale, arms up. Reaching your chest through, mini back bend. Exhale, hands down to the ground, lifting that back knee off the floor, grounding into that front foot, coming up into your high lunge, mini back bend. Exhale, hands down to the ground, front foot back into a three-legged plank, and slowly lowering to your belly, hands down by your side, lifting up into a locust pose. Exhale, hands down and feet down, back into your child's pose. Taking a breath here. And coming up into your down dog. Stretching the fronts of your feet if you feel you need to. On your next inhale, the right leg comes into the air, bending the back foot to your head, and then coming into your high lunge. Hands up into the air, hands back, mini back bend. Planting your back foot down into a warrior one pose, clasping your hands behind your back, reaching your chest forward, and slowly lowering into a humble warrior. Lifting that back foot off the floor and stepping forward into a chair pose. Sinking down, tucking your tailbone. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, up to half lift. Exhale, hands to the ground, stepping that left foot back into a slow lunge, and then right foot back, slow lower onto your belly. Inhale, locust pose. Exhale, down, and coming back into your child's pose. Coming back up into your down dog. And on your next inhale, left leg into the air, bending the knee towards the head, coming forward into your high lunge. Arms reach up into the air, reaching back into a mini back bend, dropping that back foot into a warrior one, clasping your hands behind your back and leading with your chest, coming down into a humble warrior. Then releasing your hands to the ground, lifting that back foot, stepping forward into a chair pose, sinking into your hips. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, stepping that right foot back into a low lunge. Back into three-legged plank and slowly lower to your belly. Hands down by your side. Inhale, up into a locust. Exhale, down. Back into your child's pose. Taking a breath here. Coming up into your down dog. Next inhale, right leg into the air, coming forward. High lunge. Mini back bend. Warrior one. Clasp your hands behind your back. Lead with your chest into humble warrior. Release your hands to the ground. Back foot comes forward into a chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, coming up to standing and bringing your left knee, taking it right out in front of you, then swinging it back and grabbing it behind you and coming into your dancer's pose. Reaching your right hand forward, kicking your foot into your left hand, releasing, slowly coming down into a low lunge, stepping that right foot back, three-legged plank down onto your belly. You can either locust here or grab the back of your feet. Inhale up into a bow pose, back down into child's pose. Downward dog. Next inhale, left leg into the air, bending at the knee, rolling forward into your high lunge. Arms up, mini back bend. Warrior one, hands behind your back, lead with your chest down into humble warrior. Hands release to the ground, stepping that back foot forward, chair pose. Sinking in, Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rolling up to standing, bringing your right knee with you, extending that right foot, swinging it behind you with your right hand, grabbing your foot and coming into your dancer's pose. So kicking that right foot into the right hand, reaching the left hand forward, feeling that nice back bend. Release the foot, slowly coming into a low lunge, hands to the ground, left foot back, three-legged plank and down to your belly. Either locust or bow pose here if you want to grab the back of your feet, lifting up, releasing down, child's pose. Now you can either come up onto your knees and into your normal camel pose. If you're wanting to take floating camel pose, take your hands behind you with your fingers facing towards the front of your mat, half on the mat and half on the backs of your feet, lifting your hips as if you're going same motion as if into camel pose, and lifting your knees off the floor, making sure your knees don't go wider than your hips. Once you feel the balance, you can lean back a little bit more and lift your hips even further. And then coming out when you're ready and down into child's pose. It's a little bit of a balance game, and you can fall back onto your forearms if you do lean too far back while you're learning the balance. That's fine. Then we're going to try one more time, back into the same position, lifting your hips to lift your knees off the ground. If you can look back with your head, you can do that too if you have your balance. Once you feel you're in a good balance, you lift your hips even further and then release down into your child's pose. Coming over onto your back for a nice counter pose. Lifting your knees, taking your knees to your chest and coming up into a shoulder stand using your elbows as support. If you're wanting to, you can take your knees down to the ground and placing your hands down on the mat. When you're coming out of shoulder stand, making sure you come out the way you went in and slowly roll through your spine and your bum hitting the ground last, and then your feet. And taking your hands underneath your lower back, scooting your elbows and shoulders underneath your ribs, taking your head back just for a nice light fish pose, and then coming down into your final Shavasana. Now you can take as much time as you like here. Otherwise, when you're ready, rolling over onto your side. I hope you enjoyed this class, and I'll see you next week. Namaste.